It was Halloween night. I was visiting my sister and her family. They had just moved into this big old house out in the countryside, and I was supposed to be there for the weekend, just to catch up before the wedding. The house was huge, like something out of an old storybook. Tall windows, creaky floors, that kind of thing. And it felt like it had been there 100 years or more. I'm not a believer in haunted houses, but when the neighbours talked about strange things happening around that place, I thought maybe it was just gossip. It was Halloween, after all. The house was new to my sister, and they hadn't experienced anything unusual. We had a good time, trick-or-treating with the kids, some drinks, a scary movie. I went to bed later than I should have, alone in the guest room at the end of the hall. The room was dim, quiet. I left the door open just a crack, thought it might be more comforting, but then I saw something, a shadow just at the edge of the hallway. It crept along the wall past the old grandfather clock, moving slowly, like it was watching me. It didn't make a sound, not a single footstep. I turned away quickly, hoping it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But when I looked again, there it was, a figure, a black skeleton draped in a black wedding dress, the veil hanging down covering its face. It was moving toward me, its bony fingers reaching for the doorframe. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. My heart was pounding, and the air in the room turned ice cold. It came closer. Those bony fingers curled around the doorframe, and then it was there, standing at the edge of my bed. And then it whispered, just a hiss, barely a sound at all. I could feel it, its cold touch on my shoulder. Those fingers, they weren't human. They felt like ice. I froze in place, too scared to scream, too scared to move. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't listen. And just as quickly as it had appeared, it vanished. The room was still, silent. My heart was in my throat and I was shaking. I jumped out of bed and slammed the door shut, my hand shaking as I pressed my back against it. I stood there, listening. I pressed my ear to the door, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. Was it the wind? I prayed it was just my mind playing tricks. But those hands came through the door, reaching for me. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. I had to get out, I couldn't let it touch me. It pulled back, but only for a moment before it disappeared again. Silence, but the cold remained. That bone-chilling cold. I don't know how long I sat there, too scared to move. The darkness seemed to press in on me. But then I heard it again, scratching, crawling. I opened the door. My breath caught in my chest. There it was again, the black skeleton, crawling along the floor, its bones scraping across the wooden floorboards, its veil lifted just enough for me to see the hollow eyes beneath it. I screamed. My voice was hoarse, raw, and all the lights in the house flickered on. My sister and her husband rushed to my room, but when they got there was nothing. Nothing but me, sitting in the dark, shaking. No one else saw it. No one else heard anything. I tried to tell them, I tried to explain what happened, but they just looked at me like I had lost my mind. I never went back to that room, not after that night. And to this day, every Halloween, when the wind howls and the night is quiet, I still feel it. The cold fingers still lingering in the air. I hear the scratching, faint as it may be, and I know she's still out there, the skeleton in black, waiting. It was supposed to be fun, an old converted nunnery for Halloween. My husband, Alex, and I were into spooky stuff, and we thought it would be atmospheric. We saw the online ad about the haunted history, a nun who went mad over 100 years ago and killed another. But after a night out in the village, I didn't feel so well. Alex stayed behind at the pub. I headed back to the nunnery alone. As soon as I got to my room, I went to bed and fell asleep. I woke in the middle of the night with a bad dream. My head was spinning, and then I saw her, the figure of a nun, kneeling at the end of the bed, trembling. Her face was hidden, her hands pressed together as if she was praying, but her body was shaking like she was terrified. I asked her if she was okay, but she didn't reply. She just stood up, walked toward the window, and jumped. The bedroom door creaked open. I thought I saw someone. Alex? I grabbed a lamp and ran down the hall, but it wasn't him. It was another figure, moving slowly in the mist outside. I followed it into the cemetery behind the nunnery, the fog swirling around me. Then the bells started to ring, first one, then more. They was all ringing attached to gravestones, like they were alive. And then I heard a muffled scream. I followed the sound to a grave and could hear what I believed to be my husband crying out. There was a spade leaning against the gravestone, and I started digging frantically. And there, beneath the earth, was Alex. He had been buried alive. I pulled Alex out of the grave and we stumbled to our feet. But before we could leave, I saw her, the evil nun, rising from the lake. She hurtled through the air towards us, but just as she reached us, she quickly disappeared back into the fog. I grabbed Alex's arm and we ran back toward the nunnery, but as we approached, I heard something else. A strange moaning noise coming from a dark stone doorway. I turned to Alex. When we got closer, a nun collapsed in front of us. She appeared dead. The body was stiff, unmoving, but when we ran to get help and came back, she was gone. And also the grave I had dug was filled in again, like it had never been disturbed. We packed our bags as quick as we could and got in our cars, and all the other guests were lined up, watching us leave. No one said a word. No one moved. I was 12 years old the Halloween this happened. I'd broken my leg a few weeks before in a car accident, so while my family were out trick-or-treating, I had to stay home, alone. The house was quiet. Outside the fog had rolled in, so thick it swallowed the streetlight. I remember lying in bed staring at the shadows in my room when I heard it. The sound came from my closet. I grabbed my crutches and hobbled over. Inside, sitting on a chair, was that porcelain doll my aunt had given me to cheer me up. Tall, pale, glass eyes that never blinked. I hated it. I shoved it in there days ago to keep it out of sight. To make it less frightening, I tossed a white bedsheet over it, locked the closet door, and turned back toward my bed. But before I could sit down, the door creaked open. Slow. The sheet slipped out, and I froze as the shape beneath it began to move, walking across the floor toward me. I backed away on my crutches, shaking, until the sheet suddenly dropped. There was nothing underneath, just a crumpled pile of white linen. And when I looked back, there it was, the doll, sitting calmly in the closet again. My heart was racing when I noticed movement outside my window. Through the fog, a figure stood, a man holding a lantern. His face was blurred like the mist itself was hiding him. He looked up and saw me. The whole house shook as he hammered on the door. I could barely breathe. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. And then the shadow came, sliding across the ceiling of my room. Long stretched limbs bent wrong, crawling like something not human. It whispered, no, croaked, deep guttural noises that made my skin crawl. I scrambled back into bed, pulled the covers over my head, praying it would go away. The covers were yanked away. I screamed until I saw my mum. She and the rest of the family had just come back from trick-or-treating. She kissed my forehead and left the room. As soon as that door shut, the closet door opened again. Just a crack, enough for me to see the doll still sitting on the chair, its head tilted ever so slightly, like it was watching me.